Let's talk blogging to grow your psychotherapy private practice. Hi, I'm Kat from catlove.com, and today my guests are Juliet Austin and Clinton Power. Juliet Austin is a former therapist, a marketing consultant, and a copywriter for psychotherapists and natural healthcare businesses. Clinton Power is a relationship therapist and the founder of the Australia Counselling Directory. You can also catch them both on their podcast, Ask Juliet and Clinton, answering your marketing questions. Today, Juliet and Clinton are going to be sharing insights with us around how to grow your practice through blogging. We discuss why blogging matters on a psychotherapy website, what makes blogging such a powerful form of online marketing, some of the most common blogging mistakes therapists are making, where to get ideas and inspiration for blog posts, and one thing you can do right now to start growing your practice with blogging. Let's talk. Hi, Juliet. Hi, Clinton. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi there, Kat. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Kat. Great to be here.
Hi. So I'm really happy to have you guys on this show today talking about blogging. And I have a ton of questions for you, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. My first question is, why is blogging so important to a psychotherapy website?
Do you want me to go, Clinton?
Yeah, well, we dive in and I'll come in after you.
Well, we've been, saying this a lot lately, so I'll just repeat what we've been saying already. And that is, if you want a sustainable business online, you need some form of content marketing strategy, and blogging should be a main component of that strategy. I mean, you can use other pieces of content, but the written word's never going to go away, and so it is important. So I think it helps you build relationships with people over time, where they come to know, like, and trust you. They keep coming back to your website, and eventually they'll either sign up for your email list if they really like your blogs and don't want to miss them, or they might become customers and clients. Clinton, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think also if you're a psychotherapist and you want your website and your services to be found by people, you need to have a strategy that is going to increase your visibility in the search engine. So just creating a standalone website of a few pages is not going to cut it. And as Julia mentioned, content marketing is the way of the web today. So the best way to start to increase visibility in the search engines is to be creating, content on a regular basis through your blog that will be indexed by the search engines, and people can find you. So I think that's a critical part if you want to start attracting more clients.
Right. So there's an SEO benefit, there's the know, like, and trust benefit, and also it's a part of what you can do as far as content marketing. But what makes blogging different from other forms of content marketing? I know from a lot of therapists that I've talked to that there's some confusion there around what the difference is, for instance, between blogging and email marketing or having like a newsletter. So what makes blogging so unique and powerful as a marketing strategy online for therapists?
Go ahead, Clinton.
Well, one additional thing I would add is that I think it's a fantastic platform to be able to really position yourself as an industry leader and an expert in your niche. And I think this is so important when it comes to blogging, because it also helps people that come along to your website and discover your blog start to perceive you in that way as well. But the important difference between, say, having a blog and sending an email newsletter is that in essence, when you send a newsletter, it's one of those things that once you send it to your list, people receive it, but after that, it doesn't exist anywhere. So the great thing about a blog, it's almost like having land that you have equity in. Over time, as you create content, your blog grows. And one of the strategies that Juliet and I often talk to therapists about is writing articles for your blog and then sending those articles out in your newsletter. And then the newsletter may have been published 6 months, a year ago, but the blog post lives on through your blog forever, for as long as you have your blog. So the equity in your web asset kind of maintains, it increases.
And I don't know if we said this clearly yet, but the whole idea around this is that you have like a lasting strategy that you're using to market. It's not a one-time thing. You know, the more you blog, the more value you give, the more content you have on your site, the more chances you have of being found in search engines. And it, you know, it's kind of, you want to keep it going, of course, but you know, old blog posts and all the work from the past are going to be valuable and working for you as long as you continue having your business.
Yeah, so what I hear you guys saying is it's valuable because it exists on your website, and it can be valuable over time, and it's also value that builds over time. So it's like you invest and you invest and you invest, and you can still reap the benefits of all of that investment over years to come on with your private practice marketing.
It just
Yes,
gets better.
very
It
true.
gets better over time. It works better for you over time. If you're writing good content, and you know, of course, all those things have to be in place.
And I
Yeah.
say to therapists, even if they're very reluctant to blog, you know, let's say, you know, perhaps you can only blog once a month. You know, let's imagine worst case scenario. So after a year, you've got 12 blog posts on your blog. So okay, that you're not blogging once a week, but still, even in a year, your website and your blog has grown by 12 pages through these posts. And if you're consistent with that, you know, in a number of years, your website will continue to grow. And one of the ways that the search engines works is that Google and the search engines, they want to send the best possible search results to people that are searching for services. And Google, over time, will start to perceive if you have a website that has a blog and you have helpful, valuable, interesting articles on a niche topic, Google will start to see you as an authority in your niche and will start to send you more traffic naturally. So this is why we're really highlighting it is a long-term strategy. You know, it's not something that brings instant results, but it's kind of like a slow boil. If you do the work consistently over time, you can really reap the rewards in the long term.
And also, you know, a lot of therapists these days want to market online. They don't want to do community marketing because they think it's too hard, and they don't realize, I mean, marketing online is also, you know, takes work. But a lot of them want, you know, put their listings on counseling directories like Psychology Today or whatever the case may be. And so those are all ranking really high in Google. And so if somebody goes to Google looking for a therapist, they're going to find one of those sites. And if they go to one of those sites, they're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of therapists, and they're going to try to choose and differentiate. So, you know, there's many factors. You know, what they're specifically looking for will determine whether or not they click on your listing to go to your website. But if they go to your website and it doesn't really have much content there, and then they compare that to someone else who's been blogging for 3 years, and they go there and just dive in and find their information really, really helpful, who do you think they're going to hire? They're going to hire that person. They might not hire them that day, but if they keep reading their stuff and like it, they get a much stronger, much better feel for that therapist, and it's making you stand out with the competition. And these days online, therapists need to stand out because it is pretty saturated in most cities.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Like I believe psychotherapy websites are the beginning of that trusting relationship. And it sounds like you're saying that blogging is a way that therapists can establish that trust because they're saying, like, this is what I believe in, this is what I know is valuable to you, and sharing that with the world. And if the website visitor can get that, it's just awesome.
Well, it is, and I'm sure, you know, both of you probably had this experience. I've been online for 17 years, and my blog's only been in existence, I think, I was figuring out I think only 14 or 15 years. But I have people that call me that I don't know who they are, and they've been on my list for that whole time, and I start saying something, yeah, I know that, you told me that, or, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I feel like I know you, I've read all that stuff, and yes, I know what you say, I know what you think, I've read it. So it's like, they're already converted. I don't have to do anything. They've already feel like they know me, and I think that's the value of having a blog. I mean, first you want to have a website. You want to have a great website to stand out, and then you want to have, you know, there's lots of things that go into having a great website, and having content or a blog on there really helps a lot.
That's a great point you're making, Juliet. I think it's so much easier to convert someone who already knows, likes, and trusts you. So they're kind of like the warm lead, someone who's already warm to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much less work kind of marketing to those people. They're ready to purchase, they're ready to buy, they're ready to become a client because they feel safe already. They feel like they know you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we come back to the building a sustainable business, because it's so much less work in the long run when you do this work kind of consistently over time, as opposed to going out and doing that, connecting with people that have no idea who you are, the kind of cold lead, much harder to convert them into clients and customers.
I've even had people say to me, and maybe you've had this too, Clinton. I've even people say to me that when they're working on things, even though they've had no personal contact with me, they go, I hear your voice in my head when I'm doing things, just from reading my blog posts.
That is so cool. I actually, one of the great things that you both are doing is the Ask Juliet and Clinton podcast, and I've gotten so much value out of watching and listening to the different episodes that you guys have been putting out. So thanks for that. And I know that through that you've also been connecting more and more with therapists and growing your own community. And so you're probably familiar with a lot of therapists that are actually trying to blog. So if a therapist is trying to blog, can you tell us about any mistakes that you commonly see therapists making, and maybe some tips for how to avoid making some of these common blogging mistakes?
Oh boy, there's lots of mistakes out there. I think the number one for me, I don't know about you, Juliet, but the number one on top of my list is someone blogging on a kind of hobby blogging site such as Blogger or WordPress.com. Juliet and I are huge fans of what we call WordPress self-hosted. That's a big phrase, but it just means WordPress. It's located at wordpress.org, O-R-G, and essentially it means when you blog using wordpress.org, WordPress self-hosted, you own the blog, you own the content, you get to do whatever you want to do with it, plus you have full control over the blog, how it looks, how it works, the plugins you can use, or the technical side of things as well. And a lot of therapists are still blogging on these these sites that I think really make your business look unprofessional. So if you'll see a site like anxietytips.wordpress.com, I mean, people aren't going to take that seriously as a business. So I think that's the number one mistake for me, is if you're not using WordPress self-hosted, you definitely need to come across, and it's not a huge complex thing to do. You just need to, WordPress itself is free. You just need to have someone install it on your current website or on your domain, or you need to purchase a domain name and purchase hosting, a pretty low cost investment. So that would be my number one mistake. What's yours, Julia?
Well, I would say style and structure. Even people I've worked with, I notice afterwards, even though I might have told them that I'm not working with them anymore, and I see their blogs. So two things about that. One is it's just not having a good title. That's really, really important. And because you need the title to get the attention, or people aren't going to read it. So the title is crucial. It's more important than the blog post, because if the title doesn't get their attention, they won't even bother reading it. So that's one thing. They don't have good titles. But then in terms of writing structure, I see these like blobs of text, big, huge blobs of text, paragraphs that go on forever. Nobody's going to read that. This is not an essay. You're not writing an essay. You're writing very, very different style when you're writing a blog. Blog posts should be short paragraphs. They should have subheadings, and the subheadings have to be compelling as well, because a lot of people read by scanning online, and then if they see something of value that they like, they might read the whole article. Very few people, something like 25-30%, read from the top of the article to the bottom of the article. There's just so much information out there. I think we're becoming even more, there's scanning is becoming even more popular every day because of that. So you really need to have it stand out, have the paragraph breaks like 4 to 5 lines, have great subheadings that stand out, that tell the reader, what this is about, and inspires them to read it further. So I think those are really important things. And these days having an image is really important too, a good image, a good quality image that attracts the attention and brings the eye in. So I think those are some of the big mistakes. And again, with the style, it's like there's a certain style. You're not writing an academic paper, you're not writing an essay, you're writing to your audience, so you're speaking in a casual conversational language, and you're writing as if you're writing to one person. You're saying, if you have this problem, this is what you might want to do, because it's more emotionally connecting and engaging for your audience. So I think those are the number one big mistake I see, and it seems if people just aren't used to writing that way, they don't understand that, and they probably, some people just start blogging. I think a lot of therapists just start blogging without studying it at all, and so they're just flying by the seat of their pants, as one person told me who's been blogging every week for 5 years. said, yeah, I've just been going by the seat of my pants. I didn't realize there was all this other stuff there. So I think that's another mistake we could say is study it and learn how to do it properly, so that you make sure that you're being the most effective as you can be for the time you're putting in.
I think one of the challenges, just highlighting what Juliet said, is that many of us therapists who went through years and years of academic rigor, and it's really drilled into us. I remember writing in university and just getting red marks across the paper because I used the pronoun I. So you just had to, I was drilled into me just to keep any of my personality out, not to write from first person. And blogging really flips that on, you can completely flip that on your head. But I think this is where a lot of therapists struggle. I read a blog post the other day from a therapist, and every line she had the brackets, the parentheses with the reference. And it was just painful. It was just so painful. I couldn't even finish reading the blog post because every 2 lines there was a APA clinical style reference. And that's not what blogging is. That's a university academic paper. Blogging, as Juliet said, is informal, and you can really reveal much more about yourself. It needs to be personable. It shouldn't be detached and clinical. And because you're building a relationship with your readers, and your readers will keep coming back to read more and more when they feel they have that personal connection with you. So I think that's another problem therapists struggle with. And we're also taught to have depending on your discipline, but many therapists are taught to have very strict boundaries. So some therapists really struggle with how much do I reveal, how much don't I reveal.
Yeah, and to replace those APA references, I mean, if you really need to cite the source, you just link to the page where it is, rather than putting the academic style on there. And that's another thing that is important is you brought up the whole idea of breaking the kind of rules of writing that we learned in school. And there's many rules that you can kind of break. You still want good spelling, good grammar, that kind of thing, but you want the short sentences and the short paragraphs are certainly not what we were taught. Even like short sentences are important, because comprehension is just not as good on the web, and we're so distracted. And so we need short sentences, really punchy short sentences, not these long. It's not the place to show off your sophisticated vocabulary or your sophisticated complex sentence structures, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And you're bringing up a lot of different mistakes that therapists are making and how they can not make these mistakes. One of them was using WordPress.org instead of kind of like a hobby website builder type solution. Another was the formatting, taking the time to learn about blogging, like writing for blogging, because it's not the same as an academic paper. So once a therapist takes the time to set up, their blogging software and to kind of study what what they need in order to format their blog post correctly and write to the right audience and in the right style. Once they do all of that, where should they go to get ideas for the topics that they write about? Because I know a lot of bloggers, even if they're just starting out or if they're experienced, there's always a time where they're like, oh, what am I going to write next?
I think one of the easiest things to do if you're working in private practice, of course, is just to listen to your clients, because every day you're going to be hearing the core problems and struggles they're experiencing. And of course, you're never going to use sensitive information that could identify your clients. Of course, you protect their confidentiality, but listen for themes, listen for struggles across different client groups. And I always think that's the easiest place to start for any therapist if you're working with people already, because and just start writing down those ideas and those topics, those themes. You're never going to run out of ideas if you're listening carefully. And even if you're just, maybe people are talking to on the phone, and they may not convert into being clients, but listen to the language they use, listen to how they describe the problem. They can all be blog posts. Sorry, Juliet, I cut you off there.
No, that's okay. I forgot what I was going to say, but that's all right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, blog post topics, I was just thinking that, there's somebody I was talking to the day, the same person who's been blogging for 5 years and said she was doing it by the seat of her pants. One of her struggles was still blog post topics, and part of her problem, as we talked, was that she's not writing these ideas down in advance. And I think the worst thing you can do is get to your computer and go, what should I write about? I mean, unless you're a really experienced writer and blogger, you can probably do that. But when you're beginning and you're struggling to find topics, get a list of topics, keep it going all the time, so that when you sit down to write, you have a topic. Sometimes I get ideas. I'm just walking down the street and I'll get an idea of a blog topic, or have a conversation with somebody, or I'm reading something and I'll go, oh, that's a great idea for a blog topic. So I think reading stuff in your niche is also a very important thing, to see what other people are writing about. Not that you're going to, copy them and do exactly what they're writing about, but there's always a way for you to put your own voice on a specific topic. And I think if you get really narrow in the topics, I think that's another mistake that new bloggers make, is they try to go too big in the topic. The more you kind of zero in and get really specific and really narrow, the more topics you'll have, and the more compelling your topics will be for those that are reading them.
The other thing I like to do as well is just stay abreast of the news, some of the trending topics and the big stories. I don't actually read the news very often, but what I do is I just scan news headlines. I might watch the news headlines. I don't watch the news, but I'll just see the top stories, and I'll just kind of flag if there's something related. Like in my case, it's relationships. So if there's a big story going on related to relationships, I might just jot that down. I could write a blog post and talk about my perspective or my angle on that topic. So and the great thing about that is if it's already a trending news topic, your blog post can then kind of ride that wave of popularity, because people are already searching for that content. They're already looking for that content, and then you can kind of insert your perspective, your opinion, your thoughts on it, and that's going to really help increase the traction and the readership to your blog.
You put a hashtag on it on Twitter, a popular hashtag that's on Twitter, because Twitter news stories, I mean, place to go for hot news stories to watch them and see how they're evolving is on Twitter, because that's where people go. So if you want to write a post, then put it on Twitter and use some of the hashtags that are popular for that news story at the time. That'll get you a lot of traction.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like there are so many different places to get ideas, and it's also about not only finding the ideas and being an active listener for these ideas, but also recording them and having kind of some systems in place so that you don't just ever get to the computer and just stare at a blinking cursor. So you guys we've covered so much in the short time that we've been speaking, but I'm wondering if there's a way that we can kind of, well, maybe one from each of you. Is there one thing that you can recommend to help therapists grow their practice with blogging? If you could just give them one little nugget of wisdom.
Well, I might say, because we haven't talked about this, and I think it's a big obstacle, and that is people who aren't blogging and are wondering about blogging or scared to blog. And I would say, whatever your fears are or your reluctance is to doing that, you're going to see more and more therapists doing it. Years ago, therapists didn't blog. When I first started online, therapists didn't have websites. Then they didn't blog. Then they didn't do video. Now they're doing video. So, you have to kind of keep up with it and be competitive. And so if you're reluctant to blog because you don't think you have anything to write about, you need to learn how to find topics like we were talking about today, because there's always going to be topics to write about and your perspective is always going to be new. If you're afraid of your writing isn't good enough, a lot of people do have those fears, heard that many times. Well, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. You can hire some editors, whatever, to help you along until you get really good at it. There's tools you can use to help with your grammar and check it. There's all kinds of things all kinds of ways to do that, and I know people who are terrified of blogging and terrified to write who have overcome that. So I would say my advice is, if that's you, just do it.
Yeah, one of the biggest objections we hear from therapists is that they don't have time to blog. And so I guess my one tip for anyone who's feeling like, I've got such a busy practice, I've got a family life, I'm trying to juggle all these different competing interests, I just don't have time to blog, is I would really encourage you just to start small, that this does not need to be a project that's going to take 5 hours a week, but just start with writing 20 minutes a week. See if you can just sit down and write for 20 or 25 minutes once a week, and start with the most common problems and issues that your ideal clients, or if you're a wellness business, customers are struggling with, and see if you can just even across a month you're going to end up with 4 articles that really address some of these really big concerns. And I think that's a great starting point. So I would encourage people just to break it down, start small, but consistency is the key. And if you can, what I do is just put it into my schedule, so maybe every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., whatever, that's when you write. And then on Thursday you publish. But be consistent and be regular with what you're doing.
And I was also going to add to that, Clinton, is, start with shorter posts, maybe 400 or 500 words. And if you want to do longer ones later, you can, because it's less intimidating to write a shorter post.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys, this was great. I feel like this is going to be really, really helpful to all of the therapists watching. And I know that you guys have a free training coming up. Can you tell us more about that?
Go ahead, Clinton.
Yeah, so we have a free training right on this topic. And the free training, it's a 3-part video series called How to Write Blog Post Titles That Grab Attention. And it's very easy to sign up, and all you have to do is just go to mindbodytraininginstitute.com/blog titles, and hopefully you'll put the link underneath as well, I guess, Kat. But
yes.
So that's mindbodytraininginstitute.com/blog titles, and you can sign up. And we've put together a comprehensive 3-part training on the characteristics of blog post titles and the kind of power words that really compel your readers to take action, and the different types of blog post titles. And as Juliet mentioned, when you've got a great blog post title, a huge part of the work is done, because when you get people, you're grabbing people's attention and stopping them in their tracks, they're going to click on those blog posts and start going over to your blog and reading your articles.
And I guess we should give the dates, because that's only available for a limited time, that course. And it officially launches on May 4th, but you can sign up right now and at that link, mindbodytraininginstitute.com/blog titles. It's a bit of a mouthful. And then it starts on May 4th, and then the last day to sign up is the 15th. Clinton, is it the 15th?
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, so there's just 9 days in there that you have to sign up. So if you're interested in that, do not hesitate.
That sounds really good. It's totally true that the headlines make all the difference with getting people to click through. And you guys also have a great podcast, AskJulietandClinton.com, and a membership area. Where can people find that?
Yeah, askjulietandclinton.com/membership. And you can sign up for our free members program there. We have transcripts to all our podcasts. We do live coaching calls, and we occasionally do videos on online marketing trends too for people, all for free. So, and we have a Facebook group. You're a member of that, Kate.
Yeah.
So we have Kat. Sorry, we have a Facebook group that's kind of pretty active. It's fun in there.
Yep, it is. I love the membership area too. The transcripts are super useful to be able to like go back and read over your great answers to all the questions you guys get asked. Well,
Right.
thank you so much for coming today and speaking with us about blogging.
Thank you for
Thanks,
having
Kat.
us, Kat.
Been fun.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was such a great session with Juliet and Clinton. To find notes and links from today's session, you can do so at catlove.com/session2. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.